Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Dailyo. I'm Alyssa Pena.
And I'm Jace Andrews. We have a fully packed show today with sports, weather, and lots of stories from around campus. So let's waste no more time and get into it. In local news, agencies here in Stillwater are now set to take in 160 refugees come this November, after those settling in Tulsa could not find enough rental housing. Stillwater was selected due to it having plenty of rental space, an international community thanks in part to Oklahoma State and the active Islamic society that exists here in town.
This past Wednesday, the Student Arts Alliance hosted their monthly DIY Wednesday outside of the Union, and our own Connor Bergen has the story.
Today, Oklahoma State hosted their monthly DIY Wednesday on the Student Union Plaza, with this month's event focused on clay art. Students got to work with a variety of different colors of clay, creating items ranging from keychains to earrings. With the special event being held outside with such beautiful weather, sophomore Blake Scholes decided to join in for the first time.
I was on my way back from class, getting some lunch. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. I'm a graphic design major, so.
Not only just for Blake, but OSU's Vice President of Production for Student Arts and Sciences, Bree Campbell, was thrilled with the turnout.
So far, we've had a pretty good turnout, and a lot of people are liking what they can make. We luckily were able to get a lot of options, and so a lot of people are super excited to make different things.
DIY Wednesday always will encourage anyone to attend, whether they are the next Picasso or just learning for the first time.
We like to talk about just the fact that making art itself is just a little stress reliever, and you can get to know the other people who come to make it too. And so even if you don't have the artistic abilities, there's always something you can make.
The next DIY Wednesday event will be held once again in the Student Union Plaza on October 27th, working with SFX Makeup, getting others in the spirit for Halloween. For the Dailyo, I'm Connor Bergen.
Thanks, Connor. Homecoming season is in full swing for OSU students. The 13 Greek house pairings are slowly but surely finishing up their decks. What is a deck, you may ask? It is the large walls made out of chicken wire and tissue paper to make colorful scenes that fit the homecoming theme. This year is the 100th homecoming at OSU, which is America's greatest. And the theme is Centennial Celebration, taking a look back on the last 100 years. The Greek houses lead the charge with 13 largest decks for 10 weeks. They layer tissue paper and push it through the chicken wire to make the masterpieces that will fill Greek Row come the end of October. Each house pairing has a selected certain year to highlight in their deck. The homecoming festivities aren't just for Greek life members though. Organizations and clubs can make floats to be in the parade, signs to go on library lawn, and even make some small decks. Homecoming week officially kicks off Sunday, October 24th with dyeing the library fountain orange. Be sure to keep up with us here as we will give updates regarding homecoming activities when they come.
In other local news, Stillwater city officials and OSU Student Government Association members met on Wednesday to discuss the new projects in town. The new projects, called the Time Projects, are bringing updates and changes to facilities to the OSU campus. These developments include a new fire station, a no-kill animal shelter, and new roads. Discussions of new faculties in 5 schools in the Stillwater community also occurred in the meeting. The new projects would cost a total of $81 million. In order to raise the money, there is a potential for rise of sales tax and bond issues, which would also increase property tax. There has not been a timeline set in place yet for the Time Project, but there are talks of plans to pay for incentives happening now within the community. This past Thursday, Oklahoma State held an event focusing on suicide prevention. The Send Silence Packing event was brought to the university by Active Minds, a nonprofit dedicated to raising mental health awareness. The exhibit showcased a sea of backpacks spread around the lawn, symbolizing those lost from suicide or of a family impacted by suicide.
I had a couple suicide attempts, and so through that I've learned so much about what suicide has, the impact, and that's kind of why I'm here today.
Yeah, so our display here today at OSU is called Send Silence Packing. We have our large traveling display, which represents, unfortunately, the number of college-age students that are lost to suicide each year. So our goal is to change the conversation around mental health and inspire action within young adults. Let them know they're not alone. Let them know it's okay to reach out and that help is available at a local level and a national level.
It's been surreal. We've been working on this for so long, and to see students come up and start a conversation about their personal lives and you've never met them before is crazy and amazing at the same time. It's just so cool that our campus allowed us to do this for our student body, to show them that there's resources and there's people here to help us, and that no one's alone, clearly, by the amount of backpacks. And yeah, it's just been a blessing to experience.
Thanks for that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have more from around OSU. Welcome back to the Daily O.
Coming up this week on campus, the OSU Botanic Gardens is hosting their annual Garden Fest tomorrow from 9 to 2. There will be tours, a bounce house, and a mum and pumpkin sale. There is no admission fee, however, donations are accepted. The Gardens did not host the festival last year due to COVID-19, so be sure to see what they have going on this year next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, the OSU Jazz Ensemble and Orchestra will be holding a concert in the McKnight Center from 7:30 to 9 p.m. Tickets are required for prices and availability. You can call the McKnight Center box office. The Student Union Activities Board will be hosting an open mic night next Wednesday from 6 to 8. The event is free and will take place on the Starlight Terrace.
The Botanic Garden kicked off yoga on the lawn earlier this week. I was able to attend the event and talk to some of the participants.
Yoga in the Garden at the OSU Botanic Garden is from September 8th through October 27th every Wednesday weekly from 5:45 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Admission is free to everyone. Don't forget to bring your mat and stretch away the worries of the day.
I loved it. It's super fun outside, and it's just good for all levels of people because, I don't know, it's funny when you fall, like no one's gonna make fun of you, but we can all just laugh together. So it's a very peaceful and good community to be around.
Come enjoy a relaxing day of yoga.
that it's just like more fun doing yoga here in the botanical garden between the trees and with the nice sounds of nature instead of doing it inside the current center.
I really like that it's outside, the fall weather's kicking in, the air is kind of cool. I was excited.
Don't forget to come out next Wednesday and join Yoga in the Garden.
You know, Jace, that was really fun. Maybe you should try it next week.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to put my yoga skills at work next Wednesday. We are now going to throw it over to Joshua Weisel in the Ocali Storm Studio for our weather update.
All right, and good afternoon, Stillwater. I'm Joshua Weisel here in the Ocali Storm Studios, taking a quick look at the forecast for the remainder of the afternoon and taking a quick look at the game day forecast for tomorrow. We do have a home game once again in Stillwater. It's exciting. We'll let you know what to expect for kickoff with the forecast for tomorrow. So stick around for the full forecast in this segment. We're going to be starting off with the highs today across the region. If you checked out the forecast this morning, we were talking highs around 90 for Stillwater. Still thinking that for this afternoon, 90 in Oklahoma City, Norman, slightly cooler in Enid around 89. For our friends in Tulsa, they will also be slightly cooler in the afternoon with highs around projected around 88 for the remainder of the afternoon. And we're seeing slightly cooler temperatures off in northeastern Oklahoma, 87 in Bartlesville. Mostly clear skies. It's going to be a pleasant but warm evening across Stillwater. So if you have any sort of plans outside, just make sure you stay hydrated, but also enjoy the evening across the area. Now taking a quick look at the forecast for tomorrow, we're talking slightly cooler temperatures across the area. 89 in Stillwater for highs during the peak heating hours tomorrow. 90 Oklahoma City, 91 in Norman, 88 in Ponca City. For our friends over in Tulsa, we're talking highs roughly around 86 degrees for tomorrow across the region. So like I said, slightly cooler across the area, mostly in eastern Oklahoma, but for us, we're going to be just slightly cooler by maybe 1 or 2 degrees for tomorrow. Now taking a look at the game day forecast kickoff, we're expecting mostly clear skies. Temperatures around 86. It's going to be a few hours after peak heating, so it's going to be slightly cooler than the high for tomorrow. Then we're expecting roughly around 82 by 7 p.m., mostly clear skies. And as we head later into the evening, I'll step out of the way real quick so you can see. We're talking temperatures lowering into the 70s, into mid-70s by 9 o'clock with mostly clear skies. So it's going to be another beautiful day across the area for a home game. So if you're tailgating or anything like that, it's going to be warm in the day, so make sure you stay hydrated. Otherwise, it's going to be a beautiful day across Stillwater and a beautiful evening. All right, so another thing, quick heads up for any tailgaters. If you have any sort of allergen issues and you're going to be outside, just know pollen is still high, mold is moderate, and then overall air quality is poor around a high level as well. And that's because we do have some fine particles in the atmosphere causing some generally unhealthy air quality across the region. So before you head out, before you spend the day outside, make sure that you're taking any sort of meds you need or anything to get through the day with those allergens. I'll show you real quick the main pollutants in the pollen category. That's that dreaded weed pollen. It's been sticking around. It's a nuisance, and that is at the highest level. Tree pollen and grass pollen are currently tied at a moderate level, but they're still noticeable. So that's a look at the pollen index across the region. Unfortunately, it's just that time of year. We're going to see that kind of linger and go back and forth, up and down for the next couple of months as we head into and towards winter. So here's a look at my updated 10-day forecast. As you can see for today, we were expecting highs around 90, slightly cooler Saturday. Once again, warming up by Sunday and Monday, but take a look at this. Low rain chances starting Tuesday. I'll step out of the way real quick so you can see. We're going to be seeing temperatures, once again, feeling like fall by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, even into Sunday. We're going to be below these 90s for highs as we head later into next week. Possible cold front, low rain chances. It's going to feel like fall once again. So it's exciting for those who are not a fan of these 90s for the next couple of days. So just make sure that you're keeping updated with the forecast, just because there is this potential cool down coming up later next week, and some good news for you who are not a fan of the heat across the area. So that's a look at my 10-day forecast. Make sure that you follow me on these social media platforms. You can find me Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And if you're not sure what Telegram is, you can actually get alerted every time I post something to Telegram. So make sure that you follow me there. Like I said, you can get alerts every time I post. And then as always, make sure that you check for the latest forecast with the Ocali at ocalitv.com and Facebook's at Ocali. So thank you for tuning in to this segment. I'm Joshua Weisel. We're Stillwater's Weather Connection.
Thank you, Josh. I can't tell you how happy I am to see the highs in the 70s next week. I really can't wait. The 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly opened this past Tuesday. The UNGA is the main policy-making section of the organization. During this meeting, key decisions are made, such as appointing the Secretary General, electing the non-permanent members of the Security Council, along with approving the UN budget for the year. Some of the key points discussed in this year's meeting include the COVID-19 pandemic, racism, intolerance, climate change, and poverty. Yesterday, it was President Biden's turn to speak, and during his speech, he pledged to work toward, quote, peaceful, prosperous future for all, end quote. We're going to take one more break, and when we come back, we will have all things sports.
Oh, there you go. Superstar.
The end of the practice is when we do all of our intensity drills.
Okay.
She was going at it.
Stop. If we get them to Detroit by, let's say Monday the 15th. Time's right there. There we go. Yeah. Just, you can't.
Don't want to talk about it.
When you see the water tower, you're gonna make a right.
If we win this, we have one way to get to the playoffs. I know.
Welcome back to the Daily O. We're going to finish out our show tonight by getting you caught up on everything sports.
Cowboy football has started out the season 3-0 so far and look to open up Big 12 play tomorrow night with a win against Kansas State at Boone Pickens Stadium. Jace, give us a look at what to expect for the matchup tomorrow against the Wildcats.
Ball starts Big 12 play this weekend with a matchup against the Kansas State Wildcats in Boone Pickens Stadium. After the Cowboys' close 21-20 victory in Boise, OSU looks to be in another close matchup this week.
We'll be in a fourth quarter game. I mean, we're going to be in fourth quarter games, from here on out. We lost some pretty good firepower for the year on offense.
That firepower loss has been nothing new for the Cowboys. After already losing the likes of Trace Ford before the season, Oklahoma State then lost Tay Martin and are now without star freshman receiver Jaden Bray. Though injuries will cause the Cowboys to adjust their game plan this Saturday, Josh Sills knows it is nothing new.
Don't let the distractions get to you. Next man up. We kind of went through the same thing last year. It is what it is. You can't change it. You just got to roll with the punches and keep going forward.
One of the biggest losses of the year, though, for the Cowboys came in head coach Mike Gundy's press conference after the Boise State game. Coach Gundy announced that safety Trey Sterling would be out for the year. Without the star senior, junior Jason Taylor will take over that safety spot. Taylor knows that Sterling's role will be hard to fill, but is ready for the challenge.
That's a tough loss for us. We really like Trey, and he's been a great player for years, so that was my first thought process. But after that, I have to clear my mind and just go play. I have to be the next man up.
Taylor is not new to his role, though, as he has been making plays for the Cowboys since last year. One of his biggest plays actually came against K-State, where he returned an 85-yard scoop and score touchdown. Though OSU's roster is crowded with injuries, they're not the only ones coming up limp to the starting line. The Wildcats will be starting their backup quarterback Will Howard for the second year in a row against the Cowboys, and will be without their starting defensive end Khalid Duke, who was injured in their game against Nevada. The Cowboys know, though, to never underestimate their opponent.
Just play to our level. Don't play to theirs. I mean, they don't estimate them because everybody's good in college football. So we need to play to our level, play what we can do.
One of the biggest things that can help the Cowboys this weekend is their quarterback Spencer Sanders running the ball. Sanders has been one of the leading rushers the past couple weeks, accumulating over 100 yards rushing. Head coach Mike Gundy says it's a key part to their success.
Yeah, we have quarterback run game. Spencer is a good runner. He's explosive. He's dangerous when he runs, so he needs to run the ball.
With both teams coming in undefeated, this game looks to be a great one. Be sure to get your ticket and come out to Boone Pickens Stadium tomorrow night at 6 o'clock to help support your Cowboys in their first conference game of the year. If you can't make the game, tune into ESPN Plus for the coverage. For the Daily O, I'm Jace Andrews.
It should be a great matchup. Be at BPS for kickoff tomorrow at 6 p.m. to cheer on the boys, but make sure to tune in to our live pregame show at 5 p.m. on the O'Colly website or app.
Cowgirl Soccer also opened up Big 12 play this week when they took on the Baylor Bears last night in a physical matchup. Caleb Rainwater has the recap.
Cowgirl Soccer opened up conference play last night against the Baylor Bears. OSU fell to Baylor 2-1. The lone score came from junior forward Olivia Dowell, assisted by fifth-year Charmaine Morgan in the 64th minute. Dowell led the team in goals last season, but hasn't played to her full potential yet this year. Last night was her second game back after missing the first 8 due to an injury.
Olivia has been really great for us. I mean, just her dribbling skills, and I feel like she's definitely getting back to where she was. I mean, she's just, I feel like building her confidence more, which is super good because, I mean, her dribbling and just shooting and attacking and just creating for us is just really good. So.
It was a very physical match between the Cowgirls and Bears. There were 6 yellow cards given out in total, 4 going to the Bears and the other 2 going to the Cowgirls. The Cowgirls had 9 fouls while the Bears recorded 14.
I actually think they should have had a couple red cards in my opinion, but what can you do? The refs really struggled tonight.
Dowell has been a key member in this team all 3 years she has played as a Cowgirl, and last night was no different.
I mean, Liv creates a lot on her own. The goal was a great goal as far as from our perspective. I think Charmaine it got down the flank and cut it back. We've actually worked on that instead of chipping it in the air, playing it on the ground. Liv made the right run to the sort of middle of the goal, and it's a great goal from our perspective.
The Cowgirls knew how difficult of an opponent the Bears would be going into the match. Despite the loss, the team still has a lot to be proud of. They didn't go down without a fight.
Yeah, I think for us it was really physical. I mean, Baylor's known for being physical, but I think for us, I mean, I think we didn't back down. Like, we did take it to them, and I think our effort and our fight across the field was really evident. So it just sucks that we lost, but I think that our effort and hard work, it was there tonight.
The team falls to 5-4-1 on the season. The Cowgirls will have a couple of days off before facing the Kansas Jayhawks on Sunday. Kickoff is at 1 p.m. in Neil Patterson Stadium. If you can't make it to the game, Big 12 now on ESPN Plus has the coverage. For the Daily O, I'm Caleb Rainwater.
Thanks, Caleb. Keep cheering on our Cowgirls, and like he said, make sure to be at Neil Patterson Stadium Sunday when they hopefully get their first Big 12 victory of the season. Moving over to the Diamond, Cowgirl Softball opened up their 2021 fall schedule last night with an absolutely dominant performance against Seminole State at Cowgirl Stadium. Kelly Maxwell got the win after receiving the starting nod, pitching 3 perfect innings with 3 strikeouts before Morgan Day took over and struck out 5 more over her 3 scoreless innings of work. The Cowgirl offense was the star of the show in this one, however. They put up 4 runs across the first inning with help from a 3-run blast off the bat of Sydney Pennington. The next inning was even more explosive as they scored 6 runs off 7 hits. 3 Cowgirls had multiple hits in the inning. A handful of newcomers were able to show off their skills in the blowout win, with some stand-up performances from two-way player Tatum Clopton, who smacked a grand slam over the fence in the 6th inning before coming in for relief in the 7th inning, striking out 3 and preserving the shutout. Another notable storyline was Brianna Evans finishing the game hitting 5 of 6 while adding 2 runs to the Cowgirl total. That Cowgirl total in the end ballooned to a whopping 23 runs on 28 hits, with no errors in the 23-0 victory. They look to keep the ball rolling on September 29th against the University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma at Cowgirl Stadium.
Thursday night, the Carolina Panthers beat the Houston Texans 24-9. Sam Darnold threw 34 passes and completed 24 of them for a total of 304 yards. Former OSU Cowboy Chuba Hubbard was the leading rusher with 52 yards and 11 carries. On Sunday, two big NFC contenders, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, will be traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. And on Monday night, NFC East rivals, the Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles, play in the Dallas at 7:15. Now it is time for another edition of the Fantasy Football Weekly Roundup with our very own Kristen Melton.
Welcome to the Week 3 edition of the Fantasy Football Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Karsten Melton. Let's jump straight into my first segment, Stardom and Bench'em. My first player you should start is Arizona Cardinals wide receiver Rondale Moore. The Cardinals have plenty of receivers to throw the ball to, but with defenses attempting to shut down DeAndre Hopkins, the other receivers are going to get significantly more catches and targets. One of those names is Rondale Moore, who made an impact last game against Minnesota. He's a rising rookie who is someone to keep an eye on all season, especially this week against Jacksonville. Next up is Denver Broncos quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. The Broncos have had a stellar start to the season and have been led by their new starting QB. Teddy has been a really good quarterback for Denver and has been excellent in his efficiency, ranking in the top 2 in QBR. This week, he faces another lackluster defense in the Jets, so he's sure to keep his streak going. My final player to start is Detroit Lions tight end TJ Hawkinson. The Lions haven't had a great start to the season, but Hawkinson has been one of the few bright spots for this team. He consistently puts up over 20 fantasy points, and going up against the Ravens this week should keep his streak going. Now it's time for my players you should bench. My first player to bench is New Orleans Saints quarterback Jameis Winston. After a disappointing showing against the Panthers, Winston has an even tougher matchup this week as he heads to Foxborough to take on the Patriots. It's a tough matchup, so I expect another low score for Jameis this week. Next up is Washington football team running back Antonio Gibson. After 2 mediocre performances, Gibson faces his toughest matchup this week as Washington travels to Buffalo. The Bills' defense proved themselves last week and are sure to keep up that shutdown pace. And with Washington focusing more on the passing game, Gibson doesn't seem to be as much of a feature in this offense. My final guy on the bench is Indianapolis Colts running back Jonathan Taylor. After a decent performance during Week 1, he fell off last week against a better defense than the Rams. This week, he faces the Titans defense coming off an overtime win on the road. They'll be fired up after a big win, and that doesn't bode well for the second year back from Wisconsin. Now it's time for the weekly waiver wire and some players that I find underrated for you to pick up. First up is Minnesota Vikings wide receiver KJ Osborne. The Vikings have been looking for their third wide receiver for a while, and they believe they finally found one in the second-year wideout from Miami. Osborne hauled in his first touchdown pass last week and is expected to have another big game against the Seahawks this week. Next up is the Carolina Panthers defense. The Panthers have had 2 great games on defense to start the season and are going up against another lackluster offense in Houston this week. Their stock is rising tremendously and are a great defense to have on your team to get you good fantasy points. My final player is New York Giants quarterback Daniel Jones. After a near 30-point performance against Washington, Danny Dimes is going against another lower-tier defense in the Falcons. While he may not be a permanent fixture on your team, he could be a good short-term fix to your lineup to score you some valuable fantasy points. That's all for this week's edition of the Fantasy Football Weekly Roundup. I'll be back again next Thursday for my Week 4 Stardom and Bench'em and new waiver wire players. For the Daily O, I'm Karsten Melton.
Thank you, Carson. I don't know much about fantasy football, but I heard you do, Jace.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest, I got a little preview of that segment from our own Karsten, and he told me to pick up all those guys. I looked, none of them were available in my leagues, and when I have Raheem Mostert and Jerry Jeudy, who are both out for the year, well, Jerry's will come back hopefully soon, but not looking well. Anyway, that will do it for our show today. Make sure you follow us on social media at @thedailyo_TV, and you can also watch our show on Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV, Roku, and on Suddenlink Channel 112. And make sure to help spread the word about all the cool things happening here at Ocali TV. We will be back in the studio next Friday at 5 and back out on campus this Monday. For the Daily O, I'm Jace Andrews.
And I'm Alyssa Pena. Have a good weekend and go Pokes.